On today's ChurchTechCast.com Q&A show, a basic live streaming system, ProPresenter 5 problems, and cheap lights that don't make any. Hi, and welcome again to another episode of the ChurchTechCast.com screencast show. This is the show where every week I answer your church tech questions. My name is Paul Allen Clifford. I'm your host. I'd love for you to answer your questions, so just leave them below the video. That's a great way to do it. If you're listening to the audio, though, you might be thinking, there is no video. I'm listening to the audio, so how can I leave them below the video? No problem. I've got an email address for that, paul@trinitydigitalmedia.com, or just leave them over at trinitydigitalmedia.com/contact. So, the first question comes from someone who's written before. His name is Cyril Vanderwalt, and he's from the EU. So we'll dive into his question. He asks, "Hi there, Paul. Hope is well. Again, I want to thank you for all your great content you are creating." He didn't actually say content. I did. You are really a blessing. Well, thanks. I contacted you about a year ago about video equipment for our congregation. We've been doing our research on this since then. We are in a very early stages of our equipment decisions. Things have changed a little bit as we now also want to live stream our services to a sister church in a town about 100 kilometers from us. So the streaming part is sorted, but now we have a couple of new challenges. The video cameras need to be able to record and stream at the same time. We need a portable wireless video transmitter receiver for at least one of the cameras. I found the Canon XA25 and Sony PXW-X70 that might be capable of doing the recording and streaming at the same time. Do you maybe have any suggestions on equipment, services, or software solutions to make this project a success and save us some painful teething problems? Hope to hear from you soon. Blessings, Cyril Vanderwalt. Well, Cyril, here's what I would recommend. First off, I don't think that I would look for cameras that record and stream at the same time. I think I would want at least two cameras, run those through a video switcher, and then encode that for live streaming, which is what you're looking at. So that's the first thing that I would recommend. So I wrote a blog post on kind of an introductory streaming system, and it wasn't a one camera system. It was a multiple camera system, and I sent you the link to that, so I'd take a look at that if I were you. Secondly, for wireless solutions, there are wireless HDMI solutions that you can take a look at. I was at a freelance gig about a year ago where they did something like that, and what we ran into was the wireless HDMI system was designed to be used for a television or something like that. Worked perfectly fine from the camera. The problem was that all the batteries kept dying midway through, so it became a bit of an issue. So that's just something to keep in mind, something to keep your eyes open to, is making sure that the battery solution can handle what you're looking at. I think ideally I would try and use a cable. That's just going to be much more reliable. I don't know exactly your situation, but sometimes you can get away with something like that where maybe you didn't think that you could before. Pam on trinitydigitalmedia.com says, "Hey Paul, I watched a ProPresenter 5 tutorial that said to import PowerPoint into my Mac. I did this as they said to do and was deleting some backgrounds because I had way too many, and was trying to delete some and organize the others. ProPresenter kept locking out. I closed it several times. When I tried to bring it back, it locked up every time with a little colorful ball going around. Yeah, we call that the beach ball of death. I am sort of new to this, but it is my job at my church, and I really need to get good at it. I've been doing it for a few months and had very few problems until I imported PowerPoint. Also, I'm not sure PowerPoint wasn't already there, and I wasn't aware of it. Thanks, Pam in Arkansas. Well, first off, just to be clear, I think that you didn't do this, but you say import PowerPoint. Did you import the program or did you import a PowerPoint presentation? Because if you tried to import the program, that's going to cause all kinds of craziness, and I don't even know if it's possible to do, but sometimes you can do things that weren't intended. Secondly, make sure that PowerPoint itself, the program, is installed on the machine that you're using, otherwise it won't work. Probably the third thing is I would try and do these operations one at a time, just because sometimes if you're doing too many things, the computer gets confused and it doesn't know which you want to do, and so it just kind of freezes up and gacks up stuff. So those are all things that I would look at. One thing that you can do is where the videos are stored in ProPresenter is a folder, and it checks for those every time that you start up. So you could go through the folder where the videos are stored and delete those with ProPresenter not running. And then, now I wouldn't do this with a hot folder, by the way, but with the regular folder, do that. And then when they start up, they'll be grayed out, so they should be pretty easy to delete at that point. So that's what I would do if I were you. Finally, Bobby sent me an email that said, "Hey Paul, we bought some moving heads from China called Beam 230s and are trying to program them with DMX Creator 6.68. The heads move, but the bulbs don't light up. Any suggestions? Regards, Bobby." Well, the first thing I would do is, are they LEDs or are they incandescents? If they're incandescents, I've heard more than once of getting bad lamps from China, and the fixture works perfectly fine. So I would get a multimeter. This is a really cheap one. I got it Harbor Freight for like $2. I mean, really cheap, but it works. So I would take a multimeter, like the one I'm holding in my hand, and I would switch it to the ohms, the continuity setting, and you'll probably even have a better one than I do. And check the bulbs themselves to make sure they're good. Now, if they're incandescent, make sure you use gloves, because they're not actually incandescent. They're actually halogen, or what they call them in the industry is quartz. So the oils from your skin can get on those and cause them to die if they hadn't died already. More than once I've seen this in my own life where I have a quartz light kit, and the lamps, sometimes you look at them, they look good, they're not lighting up, you meter them, and there's no connection. So somewhere you've lost a connection. Secondly, I double check the settings, make sure that the addresses are all correct. Since these are non-standard fixtures, it could be that they have a particular code that's particularly strange. Also, a lot of times they've got a shutter or maybe even moving gobos, and if they've got like some blank spot where the gobo is, and it's not a hole, it's like just a black piece in there, it could be that that's causing it. So check all those things. Well, I hope that helped you. I hope that one of those was one of your questions, and if not, don't hesitate to leave it below. If you like this content, I'd love for you to join me on my email newsletter by heading over to trinitydigitalmedia.com/gifts, GIFTS, and there you can get a free copy of my email newsletter along with some great free church tech gifts. Until next time, this is Paul Allen Clifford with trinitydigitalmedia.com.